Season 9 of The Flash is Barry Allen's last race in the Arrowverse, and there are hints of a twist that won't be a big surprise. The CW has already said that Grant Gustin's final episodes as the title character will have plenty of twists, guest stars, and surprises, so Arrowverse fans are in for a treat. Some of these shocking hints have already been told. Among all the exciting turns and twists, a sneak peek at an upcoming episode might have given a hint about how Season 9 will end. The Flash's final season might have just teased Barry Allen's child. In the first look photos of The Flash Season 9, Iris West Allen, played by Candace Patton, is seen holding a water glass while Barry Allen, played by Grant Gustin, and the other characters are drinking liquor. The outlet hinted in a subtle way that this picture could be a sign that Iris's pregnancy will be revealed at some point in Season 9. This isn't a big surprise, since Iris's pregnancy was always going to happen. Their daughter Nora was introduced in Season 4, and their son Bart made his first appearance in Season 7. In fact, Candace Patton hinted at Iris's pregnancy in an interview with TV Line years ago. When asked what she could say about Season 9 of The Flash, the lead actress first said she didn't know much, but then she said that Barry and Iris have a legacy to fulfill. I'm not very smart, but I think it will focus a lot on Barry and Iris to send them off in a way that fans will like. They have a legacy to live up to, so let's hope we can get there. I too can't wait to see what happens. In Season 9, Patton also said Barry and Iris make a strong superhero team. Barry and Iris are in a lot. They will not be taken apart. They are all working together to figure it out. I think they're a group of superheroes this season. The Flash showrunner Eric Wallace also said that Barry and Iris would be together in all ways in Season 9. I can say without a doubt that you will see a lot more of Barry and Iris together in Season 9. Not just in the same room, but also in everything. Wallace then explained why the two will need to stick together in Season 9. We can do that because West Allen have been apart and grown as individuals over the last season and a half. Now that Iris has reached the end of her journey to level up, she and Barry can face what happens in Season 9 as a couple, so you'll see them together a lot more. Why Iris being pregnant in Season 9 makes sense. The Flash has been playing with the idea of Iris being pregnant for a long time. In Season 8, there were even hints that this would happen. Now, it's not surprising that Barry Allen and Iris West Allen getting pregnant could be the end of Season 9, since many people think that that would be the best way for the Arrowverse series to end. Even though the couple's kids have been a big part of the last few seasons, Arrowverse fans would be shocked to find out that Iris is finally pregnant. Still, everything would come down to how Season 9 of The Flash would show Iris's pregnancy. It's possible that the show wouldn't reveal the truth until the end, but there would be hints all along the way. On the other hand, Iris's pregnancy could be revealed in the first few episodes of Season 9 of The Flash. By doing this, the show can make the stake higher and make Barry even more worried about his wife. Iris could also be used as a way for the bad guys to threaten the Flash while holding the timeline hostage. If Nora or Bart weren't born, it would ruin everything. Next, how the Flash avoided a supervillain naming problem. The names of the supervillains on CW's The Flash were always clever, even when they weren't very scary, like Captain Cold or Turtle. Here's how the Arrowverse show cleverly got around the naming problem. By sticking to the rule that every episode features a new metahuman villain, except for those whose storylines span multiple episodes or an entire season, The Flash had to make sure that these villains were easy to recognize. The first season of The Flash showed Team Flash getting used to dealing with meta-criminals and training Barry Allen, Grant Gustin, along the way. It also set up a fun way to introduce the names of the supervillains by having Cisco Ramon, Carlos Valdez, try to name them without being embarrassed. Cisco has always been an important part of Team Flash and one of the Flash's funniest and most relatable characters, even before he became Vibe. In a way, Cisco was the most liked by the people who watched The Flash because he was the only one who didn't have any kind of power for a long time. They could always count on his determination and wit, but one of the things he was most proud of was his uncanny ability to name supervillains. He would say their names, which were already known from the comics, in such a perfect way it became an inside joke. Cisco is known for naming the supervillains, and sometimes he even fights with people who try to take over his job. By doing this, The Flash solved the problem of how to introduce the supervillains' names before it it even came up. So, people watching The Flash could easily figure out who the bad guy was, because Cisco would try to come up with a name for the bad guy between the first and second time the bad guy showed up. The names would also be realistic because a third party came up with them. No scary supervillain would ever want to introduce themselves with names that Cisco came up with, especially since some of them were clever but not really scary. Some bad guys had names they came up with themselves, but most superhumans got their names from Cisco. This became an important part of Team Flash's fight against bad guys. How other Arrowverse shows handled supervillain names. Were they worse? In other Arrowverse shows, there were plenty of bad guys with strange names, but most of them were either their real names instead of nicknames made for their bad personas or names whose origins weren't really explained. Not only were they not very funny, but it was never explained how the villains got their names unless there was a character to do so. Arrow had Oliver's list of bad guys, Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow had different characters introduce the villains depending on who already knew them. Cisco giving the bad guys nicknames worked well because it was an easy way to introduce them. It also turned out to be a joke between Team Flash and Cisco. Team Flash would get annoyed with Cisco's positive attitude, and Cisco would get annoyed with Team Flash for not being able to name the bad guys. Ray Palmer, Brandon Routh, was the only one who took it seriously. In the end, Cisco's choice of names for the bad guys made the Flash better. After all, it made the bad guys on the DC show easier to spot, and the act of naming them became a charming tradition that people remembered as long as Cisco was on Team Flash. It was not only a good way to deal with the supervillains, but it was also a core part of the Flash that was sorely missed when Cisco left at the end of Season 8. Finally, The Flash Season 9 is completing Barry Rogue's gallery. In Season 9 of The Flash, the Arrowverse is about to finish up Barry Allen's list of bad guys. Barry's last season as the Scarlet Speedster will be shown on the CW. Casting news and information about his upcoming adventures in Central City gives an idea of what's in store. Even though Season 9 only has 13 episodes, the last part of Barry's story in the Arrowverse will still have plenty of DC Comics bad guys for Team Flash to fight. Barry Allen, played by Grant Gustin, will have a lot to do when he comes back to TV. According to a summary of Season 9, he will face a new version of the Arrowverse's Rogues team. Owen Mercer's Captain Boomerang, who's been confirmed to be one of the bad guys joining the show, may or may not be one of them. Barry will also have to deal with Red Death, who is a bad version of Javicia Leslie's Batwoman. Also, the scene at the end of Season 8 made it very clear that Cobalt Blue is coming to the show, possibly as the main bad guy of the season. The Flash Season 9 is adding Barry's missing villains to the Arrowverse. Over the course of 8 seasons, The Flash has slowly introduced a long list of bad guys who have been in the comics with Barry Allen and other versions of the superhero. In fact, the Arrowverse's version of The Flash's part of the DC universe already had almost all of his biggest bad guys, had big names like Reverse Flash, Gorilla Grodd, and the Thinker, as well as a variety of DC's villains like Mirror Master, Captain Cold, and others. And since Cobalt Blue, Captain Boomerang, and Red Death will all be in The Flash, there won't be any other characters who haven't yet made their live-action debut. The Flash Season 9's new characters are by far the most important ones the show had before. Before Season 9, there was already a Captain Boomerang in the Arrowverse, but that character was mostly used to fight Green Arrow. The fact that there will be a second version of the character in Season 9 suggests that the Arrowverse is ready to show a real version of the character who fights the Flash. Captain Boomerang isn't the only memorable villain from the comics that the Flash hasn't used yet. Red Death and Cobalt Blue also come to mind. Since the above synopsis hinted at a whole team of rogues, it's likely that the Flash will have even more DC Comics bad guys than the 3 already promised. Some of them could be new versions of villains like Girder or Golden Glider that Barry has already fought. Either way, it looks like the Flash will end with its main character having met all of the bad guys. Are you as excited as we are for the final season? Comment below. Unfortunately, guys, that is all the time we had for today. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Till next time,